Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're looking at something a bit different, actually. It's, a really compelling and, frankly, pretty terrifying real-life story.
Yeah, this one comes straight from a listener submission, doesn't it? Based on an online video account.
Exactly. So our mission today is to really unpack this intense personal account from abroad. It's all about events that happened when visiting a friend's place in Cambodia, a really remote area, it sounds like.
Mm-hmm. And it's a real-life scary story. We're drawing directly from the narrative shared by the listener, we'll call her Furkuonsar, and her friend, Fidja.
It starts with this visit to her friend in, what seems like a fairly isolated part of Cambodia.
In the source itself, it's interesting because it's a personal testimony, shared online. It gives you this very direct, unfiltered look into a really specific, terrifying experience someone had.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's get into it. Let's unpack this. The story starts with Thadhon Kolkus' arrival. So Kolek travels to Cambodia. The journey to Konton House, it's quite long. We're talking several hours by car deep into this, town that sounds pretty remote.
Right. Long trip. You'd be exhausted.
Totally. Just want to see your friend, meet the new baby, relax, But according to the source, something strange happens even before she gets to the house.
Oh, what's that?
The person driving her, the one who picked her up, they give her this really specific kind of serious warning.
Okay.
They tell her basically, look, if you see or hear anything weird, anything strange, don't react. Don't say anything. Just act like you didn't notice.
Wow. That's quite the welcome note, isn't it? Getting a warning like that before you even arrive.
Right.
It sets a real tone. It implies that whatever something is, it's, expected. Expected enough that guests need a heads up on how to act.
Exactly. And it says, she was confused, but tired from the trip, kind of just brushed it off. Understandable, I suppose.
At first.
So she gets to Shola's house. It's described as, traditional style. She meets the family, sees the baby, gets settled in, shows her to the guest room. And the LinkedIn says, right away, the room felt, creepy.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. And she sees something specific. On the window, there's this strange writing or symbols. Looked like talismans, maybe protective signs.
Talismans. That's interesting, especially given what comes later.
But at the time, she just rationalizes it. Thinks maybe they're just notes or, proverbs, that kind of thing.
A practical explanation for something unusual in a new place. Makes sense.
Right. So she hangs out with Cronus and the family, catches up, then finally heads back to the guest room to get some sleep. Long day. And this is where it gets really interesting. She's literally just about to lie down.
Okay.
The door opens. It's stunning. And Emhan gives her the exact same warning the driver did, but maybe even more intense, more urgent.
The same warning.
Yep.
The source quotes are saying, yeah.
Which translates to you. If you encounter anything or if there is something, do not acknowledge it. Just pretend you don't notice it.
Wow. Okay, hearing it twice, especially from your friend who lives there.
Yeah.
That elevates things, doesn't it?
Definitely.
It's not just some odd comment from a driver anymore. It's like confirmation. Something is going on here, and the people in the house know it.
Yeah.
They even have a rule for dealing with it.
Yeah, it creates this real sense of dread, like you said, before anything's even happened. Kuda says she was even more confused now. But again, tired, just wants to sleep, so she just says, okay, and agrees. She lies down, and it doesn't take long. The disturbances start.
What kind of disturbances?
First, a knocking sound. At the guest room window. Knock, knock, knock. Persistent. And it gets louder. Steadily louder.
Okay, creepy. Did she react?
She tried not to. Remembered the warnings. Tried to just ignore it. Then, the knocking stops. But something else starts. Voices.
Voices.
Yeah, outside her door. People speaking loudly in the local language, Khmer. Sounded really intense, she said, like they were arguing or having some kind of heated discussion.
So knocking at the window, loud voices at the door. It's like something is actively trying to get her attention or just make a racket right there.
Totally. And it wasn't subtle. The sounds would alternate, she said. Knocking, then voices, sometimes maybe both at once. It got incredibly loud. Overwhelming.
Right. Hard to ignore that warnings or no warnings.
Exactly. It got so intense she felt she just couldn't lie there anymore, despite being told not to react. She got annoyed, actually.
Annoyed.
Yeah, she started thinking maybe Con was playing a prank on her, making all this noise late at night. So she decides, okay, I'm going out there and telling her off.
Ah, okay. So she opens the door.
She opens the door, and she sees someone, a figure, standing a little way down the hall, maybe 4 or 5 steps away. It looked like a woman, short, thin build, wearing a black shirt, white shorts, short hair, and she was looking down, facing the floor. It's Tonte's first thought. It's Tonte's younger sister. That's who she thought it was.
Okay, a logical assumption, maybe?
Right. So she speaks to her, says something like, "Oh, you startled me. What are you doing out here?" Still thinking it's the sister.
And then?
Then she tries to walk past the figure, heading towards Zanya's room nearby. But as she passes, this is crucial, she gets hit by this absolutely foul smell.
Smell. Look how.
She describes it as like rotting flesh, just nauseating. So bad she felt like she was going to be sick right there on the spot.
Oh, wow. That kind of sensory detail, it's often linked to something unnatural, isn't it? That smell really shifts the perception of what's happening. It shatters that idea of it just being the sister.
It sure does.
Yeah.
And right at that moment, as she smells this awful smell, the figure reacts.
How?
It laughs, but not a normal laugh. A chilling, unnatural sound. And it starts speaking loudly in Khmer.
Okay, this is getting intense. And then the reveal, the figure, still looking down, slowly lifts her head and looks right at Ganina Kavingorwe.
And what did she see?
The description in the source is just horrifying. The woman had this wide, completely unnatural smile. Her mouth looked like it was ripped open, basically from corner to corner, almost up to her ears.
Oh my God.
And her eyes red, bulging like they were about to pop out.
That's horrific. The visual contrast from thinking it's the sister to that. The source really paints a picture of sheer terror there. And that description, the ripped mouth, it links back later, doesn't it?
Chillingly, yes. So Leggan Hainese Koda's reaction.
Instant
Instant panic. She screams, starts banging frantically on Laka's door.
Timer.
All while looking back this figure, who's apparently just laughing horribly the whole time. The source even transcribes the sound as Kadene. Just awful.
So the screaming wakes everyone up. Yeah. Jahan's mother comes out first, asks what's wrong with Broken Tie. Then Fetzer's comes out too, and Gotthard translates for her mom. The mother tells you, go back to sleep, we'll explain in the morning.
Wait, that's it? Go back to sleep.
Pretty much. And then repeats the warning again. Don't come out again if you hear or see anything.
That family reaction is fascinating, isn't it? They don't seem shocked by the thing itself, just maybe by her loud reaction, telling her they'll explain later. It suggests this isn't exactly new to them. They're familiar with whatever this is.
It really underlines how unsettling the whole situation was. So Kichia obviously is terrified, shaking. No way is she going back to that guest room.
No kidding.
She asks, can I please sleep in your room? I'll sleep on the floor. I don't care. And Federsai agrees. So she moves into her friend's room.
Did that help? Did the activity stop?
No, that's the thing. According to the source, even in Kintai's room, it didn't stop. The next few nights were also terrifying.
What happened in Didkata's room?
Every night she saw a figure. She thinks it was the same one from the hall, and it was sitting at the foot of the bed.
Every night. Just sitting there.
Not just sitting. Apparently it would speak softly in Khmer, like quiet murmuring sounds transcribed as ning. And it would move.
Move where?
Sometimes at the foot, sometimes it would move to the side of the bed, sometimes near the head, and sometimes it would lean over her while she was lying there.
Oh, that's incredibly intrusive. So it followed her. It wasn't just tied to the guest room.
Apparently not. And its behavior changed too, didn't it? From that loud, shocking thing in the hall to this quiet, persistent, almost physically invasive presence in the bedroom.
Yeah, like a different kind of haunting. More personal, maybe more lingering once the initial shock wore off and she tried to find safety.
Exactly. The source makes it clear this went on for her whole visit. So finally, the day she's leaving, Kama's mother calls her over. Time for that promised explanation. Chastu translates.
Okay, so what's the story?
The mother says they've seen this female figure ever since they built the house. She shows up often, but they didn't know who she was at first. But then someone told the mother a story. Made her think the spirit might be a girl from the house next door.
Ah, the neighbor. What happened?
It's a tragic, awful story. There was a couple living there. The husband was intensely jealous. Violently jealous, especially if his wife even just smiled at other men.
Oh, no.
And according to the neighbor's story, recounted by the mother, the husband just snapped. In this fit of jealous rage, he attacked his wife. Horrifically.
How bad was it?
It's gruesome, the source says he cut off her breasts. And because he hated her smiling, he cut off her lips.
Jesus.
And then took a knife and slit her face from the corner of her mouth right up towards her ear, ripped her face open, creating that ghastly smile. They go, ha.
So the source is directly linking the spirit's appearance, that specific horrific mutilation, to how the woman died. That's the family's explanation for what Beckman had witnessed.
Oh, yes. The mother believes the figure they see is the spirit of that young woman. And she always appears like that, mutilated, because of the trauma of her death.
And the trauma sort of imprinted on her spectral form, in their view.
Right. And then confirmed it, told Todd, yeah, I see her too, often. Which is why she warned her so strongly, don't react. She knew what might show up.
Makes sense now, the repeated warnings.
And those symbols on the guest room window. Stott explained them too. Her grandparents put them there. They are talismans, meant to keep spirits out of the house.
Right, but hold on. If the talismans are meant to keep spirits out, how is this spirit apparently coming and going so freely, appearing inside, moving between rooms?
Good question.
The source doesn't really explain that contradiction, does it? It just notes, here are the talismans, and here's the ghost inside anyway. It's odd.
It really is. Adds another layer of just weirdness to it all. But okay, the source material doesn't stop there. It then dives into another experience. This time, it's Nan herself, with another friend named Dud.
Okay, more counts.
Yeah, and this happens after the neighbor Victor's body was actually found next door.
Oh, so they found her. How was that described?
Graphically, the source says, her mom, others went over because they heard the victim's mother screaming. The scene inside was just horrific, blood everywhere. The body was badly decomposed, covered in maggots. Eyes bulging, the mouth ripped open like described before, naked, covered in wounds, just devastating. The source mentions the victim's mother's distress seeing her daughter like that.
So this grounds the haunting in a very real, very violent event that happened right next door. It's not just a vague story.
Exactly. So a couple of days after this discovery, Singus Versolde Fatten comes to visit, doesn't know anything about what happened next door.
Okay.
They're playing outside. And suddenly Cannon turns to Chance and asks, why does the woman next door look so scary?
Wait, she saw her?
Apparently.
Yeah.
Sina Siddleton thought looked over at the neighbor's house and she saw the spirit standing at the window of her old house.
Did she look mutilated? Like before?
No, interestingly, this time, Point described her as having messy hair and just sad eyes. Not the horrific look door.
So the appearance varies. That's another fascinating detail. Different witnesses, different manifestations, or maybe it depends on the context. Sad at her old window, horrific when confronted directly.
Maybe. It definitely adds complexity. So San, seeing this and knowing the history, gets scared herself, especially since her own bedroom window faced that house, and she'd actually been friends with the victim.
Right, that makes it even more personal and scary for her.
Yeah, so she quickly grabs Kume, brings her inside, doesn't explain why, just gets her away from there, didn't want to terrify her friend.
But the terror found them inside anyway.
Looks like it. The first night Laka stays over, they start hearing sounds from next door. First, soft crying, then sounds of arguing, screaming.
From the empty house.
From the empty house. Then I remember, doesn't know what happened. She just thinks it's the couple fighting again, comments on how scary the crying sounds. But Ten knows. Knows the house is empty except for, well, the memory of the body. She knows those aren't living people making those sounds.
So they're both terrified, but for slightly different reasons. By the sounds, by knowing what those sounds mean.
Exactly. The source really uses those sounds to build the tension, heard by both of them.
Suggests like a residual haunting, maybe? Trauma replaying itself?
Could be. So the second night goes up to bed first. Leaves the bedroom door just slightly open so Becca can come in easily later.
Okay.
She's lying there, hears a sound near the foot of the bed, like a rustling or scratching. Thinks, oh, that's just Tech coming in.
But it wasn't day.
It wasn't down. According to the source, Tundia opens her eyes and sees a woman's head peeking through the crack in the door. And she's smiling. But the source says a normal smile this time, not the ripped one. Then the door starts to slowly open wider on its own.
Okay, that's terrifying.
Just screams loudly, pulls the blanket right over her head.
I would too.
Hears the scream, runs upstairs immediately. What's wrong? What happened? Dawn is shaking, crying, says she saw a ghost.
Did the parents hear?
Yeah, they came up, and initially the source says They kind of suggested maybe she imagined it because it was dark upstairs. A bit of skepticism there.
Interesting. Even after everything.
Well, skepticism or not, they were worried enough by how scared Uda was. They brought everyone, not themselves, downstairs to sleep near the TV for safety.
Did that help? Did the sound stop?
No. That second night, even downstairs, all four of them, Hein, her parents, he heard the arguing and crying sounds from the neighbor's house. All night long.
All four of them heard it. Okay, that's significant.
Yeah, that shared experience really adds weight, doesn't it? It's not just one person's perception anymore. It's hitting the whole household.
Definitely suggests something external, widespread around the location, not just in someone's head.
Right. So the final event in the source. It's the last night. Bus is there. Ben Lan and Finn are alone downstairs watching TV. Parents are out late.
Okay.
At some point, Pentecost decides she needs to go upstairs, shower, get some clothes, something like that.
Alone. After everything. Brave girl. Or maybe foolish.
Maybe a bit of both. She goes up, isn't gone long. Then she comes running back down the stairs, absolutely terrified, shaking, yelling, and you go, you, buku, bamba. Ghost scared me. Ghost scared me.
What did she see this time?
She said she saw a figure standing at the door of her room upstairs with its back turned. She thought maybe it was Hannah's mom at first, walked closer, then realized it wasn't.
And
The figure turned. Oh, it turned. But how it turned? This is the really chilling part that I described. The figure didn't turn its body around. It slowly turned only its head back to look at her.
just the head. Oh, that's classic horror imagery.
Totally. And the face. This time, it was the smile. The wide-ripped mouth. The same one he continued to saw.
So, these saw the full horror this time.
Yep. And it didn't stop there. As C stood frozen, the figure started to move. From standing, it sat down on the floor. Then it knelt.
Okay.
And then it started crawling. Backwards. Down the stairs. Towards the downstairs where they were.
Crawling back.
Crawling backwards. Body moving down step by step. But its head stayed twisted around, looking up at Cut, keeping that horrific smile fixed on her the whole time.
That is profoundly disturbing imagery.
Isn't it? And the final kicker. As ours is downstairs, hysterical, trying to tell what she just saw, then Higas looks up at the stairs.
Did you see it?
She saw it, just like Napana described. Crawling backwards down the staircase, it had reached about the middle of the stairs when Monica saw it.
Wow. So, sees it too, right after Tanya describes it. That's intense validation within the story. It makes it undeniably real for both of them at that moment.
Absolutely terrifying confirmation. It just ties all these different accounts and appearances together, rightly in the house.
But what did they do? They couldn't stay there after that?
No way. The source says, crap. And then they just bolted, ran out of the house, straight to their grandmother's place nearby, explained everything. The grandmother called the parents to come get them.
What a story. So, connecting all the dots from the source, we have this entity seemingly tied to that specific house next door and that incredibly violent death.
Yeah.
It appears in different ways, sometimes sad, sometimes horrific, shows up in different spots, interacts differently with people. It's followed people, appeared to multiple witnesses. It's a really complex, layered haunting described here.
It really is. An incredibly unsettling account. This deep dive definitely took us into a very raw personal story, full of things that just can't be easily explained, tied to this tragic history and just palpable fear. All linked, as the source strongly suggests, to this one location and what the family believes is this specific tormented spirit.
And that local explanation, rooted in the violence next door, is key to how the family in the source understands everything they're experiencing. The spirit's appearance, its actions, it all stems from that tragedy in their view.
Yeah. We really have to thank the listener, Todd F. Khan, for sharing the source material that let us explore this. It's these personal accounts that really bring these kinds of mysteries into such sharp focus.
Absolutely. And it leaves you thinking, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Based just on what the source presents. What is it about this particular spirit?
Yeah.
You know, one born from such specific brutal violence? What makes it so persistent? Appearing over years with different people. And why does it seem to bypass those talismans, things that should supposedly offer protection, moving so freely? And maybe the most haunting question, why the different appearances? Sometimes the full horror, sometimes just sadness, sometimes that terrifying slow reveal. What dictates how it manifests?
Those are definitely questions that stick with you. It's a story that makes you pause, reflect on the echoes of trauma and fear. Well, thank you for joining us on this pretty intense deep dive.
Indeed.
We'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.